Well, here we go. Now, the big boards. They certainly are boring. This is Group 6. And also in this Group 10, Group 12A. But this is effectively big ball production, sports cars and sedans through 1972. So you've got your Shelbys, your Corvettes, your Cobras, your Mustangs, the odd Jaguar. And I think I saw a Cup car out there.
Yeah, that's our Group 10 as the Cup cars and Trans Am car. Right there, that's a TVR, another British car. Out there in Group 6, Jerry Robinson in that Viper. There's one of my favorites, Frank Markham in that Falcon. There's some just really cool cars, a great mix. Now notice this is a little bit different because there's some production cars out there. Then there's cars that look like production cars. Those are the Trans Am or stock cars that are tube frame cars.
Yeah.
And then there's some Cup cars or some NASCAR cars with big wings and slicks. Here comes the Pancho Weaver Boris Said car from just 2 years ago.
I was about to say, I remember that.
Yeah, Decon Monza, you don't see those often. That's basically a little car with way too much horsepower.
I remember that Pancho Weaver car with Boris winning, I think, at Road America.
Road America, yeah, he won a lot of races. And now it's in vintage racing, which is crazy because that could currently still be a leading car in the TA class. A couple of these cars, that Hinkle car up front.
How do you homologate to be vintage at that age?
You go and talk to Rick Parent, our head of tech, and you say, hey, I just bought this, and where can we put it in? And that's what we're doing here.
Okay.
And so there's 3 different classes out here racing, but these cars are pretty equally matched on the track, so that's why they're out there racing like this, because we like to have bigger groups, because not only just for time, but it makes for a better show.
Now, I got confused yesterday because Scott Borchetta was on my scoreboard twice as we look at the Group 6, Group 10, 12. And what a beautiful sound that was. And the Cup car straight into the lead. And now I believe that is the Borchetta-Buford combination, right?
Yeah, so I'll give you a great story. Scott Borchetta is in that 05 red Corvette in Group 6. Leading the charge right now in the Bill Elliott Dodge is Jade Buford. He is going to be racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series for Scott Borchetta. Scott Borchetta with Big Machine Vodka and also the sponsor of the NASCAR race at Indy, but he's going to be racing all of the Xfinity road courses with Scott Borchetta. So here's Scott Borchetta giving him a chance in an old stock car that Bill Elliott used to race. Right here, coming into turn 4, that's Jade Buford. Behind him in that red Corvette, right next to the Forge Line Toyota Supra, is Scott Borchetta. Now this is a mixed group, as we see a great combination of cars out there with Jerry Robinson and that Viper coming up. Gary Moore in a Cougar. You don't see many Cougars. Scott Hawley right there in that beautiful E-Type coming up on Chris Zappa in the TVR. Lots off there at Madness. Did you see that, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Lots of cars off there at Madness.
That was really cool.
That's
it was madness.
Really unfortunate. I hope Chris Zappa, Scott Hawley, I hope those guys got through that well. But that probably is going to bring out a double yellow. I don't see how they're going to be able to clear that up. Right now the stewards are looking at it. We have RC and race control. He's looking at it right now. Look at this beautiful shot. Mike Origer from Chicago, Illinois. The TVR and the Jaguar, my British friends, got through that carnage all right. Scott Hawley in that beautiful Jaguar.
That is gorgeous.
Hawley has some great cars, but look at this fight right here. You don't think of British cars racing with American muscle, but here's 2 British muscle cars racing against each other. And here comes the yellow with debris flag out. Scott Graham, you don't see many Pontiac Firebirds. I love to see these kind of oddities. Usually Group 6 is known for Corvettes, Camaros, and Mustangs. Looks like Frank Markham has come into the pits, that beautiful Dodge Falcon.
Sounds great, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure what Dennis Altoff, his mechanic, is saying. Frank looks a little bit frustrated.
Well, he's back in gear and looks as though he's going to head out.
Frank Markham from Kentucky. It might have been good that he was not out there because he missed up on a melee as Jade Buford comes into the turn in question.
He is eating
All
up the track.
cars are clear. Look at that, Mid-Ohio. Nice job.
Yeah, through the S's he goes, and that's Jade Buford did a 129.9 last time out, so he is tearing up the track right now.
But that Forge Line Toyota Supra, that's just limping around the track.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't have damage.
Well, something's not right. He's going very slowly indeed. As we focus in on him. Oh, no! The monster has gone off. And that's a turn 1. Oh, that's a real shame. And now the safety car, or at least the repair car on track. So that's why we've got, that's Mark Sharin.
Mark Sharon, yeah, with the JR3. Just bought that car last year at Circuit of the Americas with us. Put it back in that monster livery. There's a couple of Poncho Weaver Trans Am cars out there right now, but it looks like he's stuck in the kitty litter. It's going to take a while. You see that orange Dodge Challenger right there. That's another Poncho Weaver car driven by Hinkle. And is Mike Origer. So now we're going to have a restart. And these restarts, now the tires have come to these cars, so this restart's going to be kind of balls to the wall here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
I wonder what year that Jade Buford car, that Cup car is.
I want to say it's a 2005. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I think that's about the time.
Look at that Cadillac.
Yeah, it's a really neat group of cars here. I really like that Firebird. Scott Graham, sporting Big Machine Vodka, helping out his friend back there in the 05 right there, Scott Borchetta. And then we have actual GT350s out here.
Yeah, give a shout out to Scott Borchetta and his team from Big Machine Vodka, because they've been making hand sanitizer for the paddock and bottling it up throughout the COVID pandemic. And so thank you to Big Machine.
It's great, the Mid-Ohio crews got the car on the hook. Looks like it's going to be able to go. Is Mark Sharon going to be able to fire it up under its own power now that he's dug out? What happens if this is your first time with motorsports? You can see that gravel down there in the bottom third, and that's really, really thick.
I don't think he can get it going. I think he's got a problem.
This slows these cars down quite a bit so that they don't hit the wall. It's a safety feature of these tracks.
Well, the safety car has got its lights off, but I'm not so sure they're going to be able to get the monster car out of the way, because they took the tow off him, but he couldn't get it restarted and powered up.
And we have lots of cars in the pits.
Yep, several cars coming into the pits to use the time while we're not racing. But I've got a feeling we may not go back to racing just yet. We'll soon find out.
I want to thank Tom Lemkuhl in that Acura right now, driving our pace car around, keeping these monsters behind him. That's Frank Markham again, looking into Frank Markham's car. That car rarely has trouble. Frank's a really good driver, really friendly guy out of Kentucky. He has all kinds of great race cars that he races with us. I know he's disappointed. He put on a great show here at Mid-Ohio last year. Yeah,
the yellow flag is still out, so we're going to continue to go. Yeah, he's not gone anywhere. Unfortunately, they've swapped it round now, and they're going to drag him out. They thought they could just drag him back so he could get restarted, but that wasn't enough, unfortunately. So the lights come back on for the pace car. The safety car, as it should be called.
So the first three that you saw there in the shot is our first three in Group 10. Then the next three are our first three in Group 6.
Yeah, I picked my Jaguar out. That's what I want.
You've got Michael Origer in that beautiful 969 Corvette from Chicago, Illinois. Looks like that's Frank Markham there talking to his mechanic.
Yep.
I'll tell you a neat story about Frank Markham. He is a veterinarian in Kentucky, and he does a lot with thoroughbreds with the Kentucky racehorses.
Oh, right.
Does a lot to keep them racing, has developed several products, but he's a very high-demand veterinarian just outside of Lexington, Kentucky, that deals with thoroughbred racehorses.
That's no mean feat. That's a hard job. Those things are so, I mean, you talk about race cars being, you know, hard to manage. I wouldn't want to do the real thing.
And look at that TVR. Chris Zappa, he and his father race here quite a bit. They have a lot of cars in that kind of what I call the Lotus paint scheme, right? The black and gold, but they have a GT40, they have an MGB. But he is really fast in that TVR. Haven't seen him out here in a while, so it's really nice to have Chris Zappa back here fighting it out with Scott Hawley and that Jaguar. Beautiful. Look at all these beautiful cars right here.
Yeah, it really is a good cross-section of very, very different big bore cars. Corvettes to Mustangs, Jaguars, you name it.
And I think a lot of people just think that people are crazy for driving real GT350s out here, but we just thank them so much for keeping those things alive out here racing as Carroll Shelby intended. We have a Decon Monza out here. You don't see many of those, but it's just really fun. And right now, Jade Buford, I'll tell you something about Scott Borchetta. Scott Borchetta knows how to find talent based on what he's done in the music industry. He's the person that discovered Taylor Swift for Big Machine Records. And now it looks like he's discovered talent in racing. He's bringing up Jade Buford. And if you know anything about Scott Borchetta and the talent that he's discovered in the entertainment industry, it's probably going to cross over to the motorsports. So look for Jade Buford to be making huge strides in the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
And Borchetta's a big believer that nice guys can finish first. And what I mean by that is that when he looks for talent and investing in that talent, he likes to think that that also means that you look in the whole man, the whole woman, and everything that goes with the package. It's not just a case of talent. There's a lot of talent out there amongst the youngsters, but it's who knows how to market themselves well and hold themselves well and be a representative and an ambassador to all and sundry.
Lights are out.
Here we go. So we're back to racing here in our big bore men. Group 6, Group 10, and Group 12. Away we go. The Cup car leads them through onto the main straight and down towards the Honda Bridge again.
Michael Orger porks out. He's right there in the 969 Corvette. But look at this battle we've got, because he's got a ton of horsepower, but then he's got two cars right behind him that have a little bit more balance and braking. And I really am looking forward to seeing this fight between the TVR Chris Zappa and Scott Hawley in that beautiful E-Type Jaguar.
Could get a good battle also between that Dodge Challenger in third and the Chevrolet Corvette. Harry Hinkle holding off at the moment Michael Orger, who had a problem yesterday, but has obviously got it back together. He was parked up yesterday. I don't know what the problem was, but they've got him back out there. And again, building on that lead, Jade Buford. Whoa, that was close, the Challenger. Getting very close indeed.
Yeah, I want to see a shot of that Mercury Cougar of Gary Moore. You don't see many Mercury Cougars, and that's a really fast car out here.
Sun's starting to pop out of the clouds here at Mid-Ohio. No chance of rain at the moment, for sure. And good news, because we had quite a lot of rain yesterday, but as you can see, the clouds from above starting to show off those very fluorescent green fields of Ohio. And it's a great contrast with the red rooftops and the green fields, isn't it?
Yeah, do not adjust your TV sets, laptops, or
That's
iPhones.
real.
This is the real thing, and we're not putting filters on. It really is this beautiful in Mid-Ohio. There it is. There's that Cougar fighting against this Group 10 Cadillac right here. And the Cadillac of Bill Heifner, he's local here. He races with us quite a bit, but I think he considers this his local track. As Scott Hawley ducks into the inside of Chris Zappa in the TVR, and there's Gary Moore, the second half of the greatest show in vintage racing. He and Scott Hackinson put on quite a show in their Shelby Mustangs. And look at this, a Cougar and a Firebird in Group 6. Two cars you rarely see, and I love seeing those cars out here as Scott Hawley takes the lead over Chris Zappa, now in second place in our Group 6.
Yeah, the Jaguar XKE heading down the back straight, being chased hard by both the Cadillac and the Corvette.
This is our Group 6 B production class right here, which means a little bit smaller.
Look at the Cadillac,
and
look at the
Heifner
power.
comes in.
Oh,
he's got the brakes, he's got the downforce. Scott Hawley gives it to him, but isn't about to let the door open for Chris Zappa.
I'll tell you what, that was a bold move from a long way back, but he knew the brakes on the Cadillac had it. A little bit more of a modern car. And he used it through turn 4 to good effect.
But I would watch out. The Cougar and Scott Graham they have the power here. I think Scott Hawley and Chris Zappa in that TVR are gonna have their hands full, keeping three really fast cars. Gary Moore, Scott Graham in the Firebird, and Scott Borchetta in that beautiful 05 Corvette.
Buford's built a massive lead with 6 minutes to go. And he's got a good gap now of over 3.5 seconds ahead of Zach Arnold in second place. And it's all going on here through the carousel. Look at this.
Yeah, Scott Graham almost opened up the door. Scott Graham's driving that Big Machine Vodka Firebird, and then he's got Big Machine Man right behind him. But he's not allowed. There's no team orders here. They're just friends. He's not allowed of. I'm tongue-tied. You take it, Jonathan.
Scott Borchetta trying desperately to come up towards the keyhole and take a place on his teammate, and I think he's going to do it under braking. Ooh, he goes over the curb a little, and he's got that inside line. Now he powers down, and he's side by side, a drag race down the straight. They go down the back straight, side by side. Meanwhile, the Jaguar has overtaken Corvette. The Cadillac is off into the distance, and look at this 5-way battle here. And the 05 of Scott Borchetta doing the business in that beautiful Chevrolet Corvette. Quick look, puts his nose up the inside, can't quite do it there.
This is so much fun. Look at that beautiful Jaguar, followed by the TVR, then a Mercury Cougar, a Chevrolet Corvette, and a Pontiac Firebird. Cars that don't even exist anymore, Pontiac and Mercury.
Yeah, it's a good point.
But here they are out there racing it, putting on a great show for the fans here.
Yeah, this is great. If you wanted to forget reading about the history of cars, just come out here to an SVRA event. We'll tell you the whole history.
Yeah, it's like we got in our DeLorean, went 88 miles an hour, and went back to the 60s. This is the closest thing to a motorsports time machine, and these guys are having a blast.
Back to the future then, here at Mid-Ohio, as it is the Borchetta-Buford entry with Jade Buford at the wheel, leading the way in what has been an excellent, stunning performance. Fastest lap of 1:30 by Zach Arnold. His fastest lap, I should say, because Buford's on 27s at the moment.
Scott Borchetta takes the lead over Gary Moore. Gary Moore gives him the room, which I don't see Gary Moore doing that too often, but he knew Scott was a faster car, and he's trying to keep Scott Graham behind him in that beautiful Pontiac Firebird. Scott was with us at Road America just last week, and he is really fast in this Pontiac Firebird.
Yeah, and hats off to Scott Borchetta for really throwing himself at the E-Trans Am Championship. He had to go through about 3 computers over the 6 weeks, but Mainline, his sponsor, had been really good in supplying him computers. He did a bunch of interviews with us. He did more laps than any other E-driver out there, and he said he actually improved as a driver as the weeks went on. So it's certainly helping his real-world racing too.
Yeah, so right now they're in the twisty bits, so that TVR and Jaguar definitely have the advantage over Scott Borchetta, but he's just hopefully going to bide his time as they come into Thunder Valley. He looks to the inside. Chris gives him a little bit of a shake, and now he's probably going to wait till after start-finish line to make a move on these more nimble cars. But that's the red Corvette outside right there of Chris Zappa trying to take the outside line, which gives him the advantage coming in. There's Jeff Hinkle, I think, in that Dodge Challenger in the red Corvette coming up on lap traffic. That is a Poncho Weaver TA car.
It should just finish this lap and get one more lap in, or it could be last lap board after this one. And a beautiful big bore sand here, looking high above the paddock of Mid-Ohio. There's the keyhole in the distance. There you can see the size of it. It's a sort of giant hairpin, effectively.
I'm sorry, that's Nick Bruce in that Challenger. And Preston Rice is in the Monza right there. Look at that car. A Decon Monza Chevrolet 31. That is just a cool car.
Very nice.
Super fast. That's too much power, honestly.
Preston Rice in the Monza. Very nice indeed. So once again, a good full field of 30 cars plus 32 in total. So a really strong field in these 3 groups. Some great racing this morning. I think everybody's woken up from yesterday. It was a little bit... I think the track's got to a point where it's less green now and everybody's got a bit more dialed in.
After some of the Trans Am cars and International GT, the Formula 3, Formula 4, and then this group lays down a lot of rubber. There's Michael Origer right there. He's got his family and friends here. They've been camping out all weekend. There's a brother car to that car, the 696, and there's Jade Buford. Jade Buford right there. He's going to be running at Indy in the NASCAR Xfinity Series on the road course. Oh, Scott Graham just off. I hope that wasn't a metal to metal, but it looks the way he's positioned, something happened.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't park it in that position.
Oh, he's got it going.
Looks like he had a spin. That's the carousel. So it looks like he might have just lost a little bit of the rear end of the
he
carousel.
might have just outbraked himself and then just gone straight on. Now, talking to tires, you say they put a lot of rubber down. How does it work in terms of, we've got so many different big bore machines out there. How does the choice of tires, and they don't have to be era tires, do they?
They do have to, it depends on the group. But like in Group 10, they have different tire rules. Group 6, I think they're required to run a bias ply tire. And that's a pretty soft compound, just as they did in the day. And we don't mandate a tire manufacturer, but it seems like right now in Group 6, Hoosier is the tire manufacturer of choice, but we also have some Goodyears out there. In Group 10, they run slicks, which is giving a little bit more traction. I believe some of them are slicks, some of them are radials. But in Group 6, Rick, our head of tech, is very particular about the tires that they're running. And if they come in the wrong set of tires, he puts them in a different group.
It's our first proper look at the man running in second place, Zach Arnold, in the Chevrolet Corvette, the blue and silver. And just about to head down the back straight for the last time in the 55. And that low-sounding grunt as he heads to turn 4.
Chris Zappa has actually taken the lead over Scott Hawley, and then there's Gary Moore right behind Chris Zappa. So it, in Group 6, has really changed hands quite a bit.
This is the final lap then in our latest race for the Group 6, Group 10 and Group 12A. And after this, it will be something quite different because we'll take a short break and we'll be back with more action from the SVRA Speed Tour.
We got to see if Chris Zappa can hold on for the British cars. Come on, Chris. Hold on for podium. Mike Orger wins Group 6, it looks like.
Jay Buford has already taken the checkered flag. He's gone home. But that was a great performance. And a lot of power to work with. And as you say, he knows what he's doing. He's going to be in the Xfinity Championship.
Yeah, he's going to be running
How
all
old
the
is he
road
then?
courses. I interviewed him yesterday on the podium, and I would say he probably can just barely legally vote.
Oh, my word. Well, he's got my vote. So Jay Buford wins in the Cup car. Zach Arnold will take second place. Quite a distance between them, but it doesn't matter.
That's Bill Heifner coming in 4th place in Group 10 in that beautiful Cadillac. But I want to see Group 6. There it is. Scott Borchetta's trying to take second place from Michael Orger coming. Oh, Michael gets loose.
Go on, Scotty. Here they come. And they cross the line.
Michael Orger, Scott Borchetta second in Group 6. Let's see if that TVR can hold off Gary Moore. It looks like he barely did. He had the lights on. It looks like Chris Zappa third in 6 first and 6 BP. What a great race, Jonathan.
Yeah, good fun.
Isn't this
And
fun?
the sun's come out just at the right time. And we are back to racing in the real world, as they say. Everybody's been sim racing for the last 2 months, 3 months. It's been a bit of fun, but we all want to go real racing. Good crowd here at Mid-Ohio, and as you mentioned earlier, not a lot of time to decide whether you were coming or not. They only had a few days' notice, but they've certainly marched out here with the RVs, and you can see from high above just how popular this event has become over the weekend.
Well, Jonathan, that was such a great race. I'm going to go do a podium celebration for these guys.
Well, yeah, you go and do a celebration with them. I'll stay put, and thanks, Ben Sissel. He's going to head off to the podium to talk to the big boys of our previous group. We'll take a short break. We'll be back very soon.